so make a copy of it. Yeah. And there was a date on that, it was the 19th. Here, you're talking about the other one.
Oh, I can, yes, and I'll wait for this.
I can send you the
Home set tonight.
She's sick. Okay.
Thank you. Six thirty yet? Brad, it is. So I'll go back and get some water.
Good afternoon, it's September 8th. We're convening the Board of Directors workshop over the budget, 6:31. If we have a roll call, I guess, for everybody.
Sure. Roberson,
Here.
Sweet,
Here.
Herman,
Here.
Castle,
Here?
Hagan.
Here.
We have a quorum, all board members are present. Guess we'll have a salute to the flag.
Well, we don't be having an official meeting.
This is an official.
Not a official
We
board.
don't remember. They'll remember our pledges from the last meeting. Roby, did you tell them those are there?
Oh, there's a copy of the budget on the table there,
Yes.
if anybody, it's an abbreviated copy, but
Give you something to.
It's a
follow
summary.
along there.
It doesn't say 2013 year to date.
we have a copy of our budget there, and that's what the workshop is over, is to go over the budget here. We, essentially, if we perform to this budget, and this is a maintenance budget only, it's what it takes to run the fort on a daily basis, with depreciation included and our allowances for bad debt, we will lose $359,000. Well, we won't actually lose $359,000.
Paper loss.
We'll have $359,976.60 over what we actually took in. However, the depreciation and allowance for bad debt is not actually money we write to somebody else. We'll actually, on all our income, the bad debt and the depreciation is $439,490. So we would actually end up with a positive cash flow of $100,000 on this budget without taking into allowance the bad debt, which is money we hold in our account for bad debt and the depreciation.
If you weren't confused by that, stick around.
Right, I don't know. Any comments or questions from the board?
Whether I move up or it doesn't come. Can you hear me? The thing that I keep hearing is that we're broke. We're not broke. We have an income. What we have, though, is an income and an outgo that are too close together. We don't have enough to buy the kinds of equipment that we need to keep this place in top order. We don't have enough to fix the buildings the way they should be fixed. And that's the bare bones budget. You get to the end of the year and you discover that you have had all these little things that didn't quite get planned for, like air conditioning units that go out. And so there you've got $12,000 that you didn't budget for. So even though it sounds like we're broke, we're not broke, we have money. All right. I keep hearing that, and I just wanted to make a statement.
And the problem with that is that our fort is falling down around us. We don't have the money to do the upkeep, the general upkeep, let alone get ahead anywhere. So what we had proposed, or what I had proposed, was to accept this budget here, and then we'll map out a strategy for what items we need to fix that are not necessary to run the fort on a daily maintenance operation. And then see what that comes to and propose how we're gonna come up with the money through that. Whether it's a special assessment to meet those needs, but they'll be specific for items that we approve. If we need $10,000, then the special assessment will be for $10,000, and it will be for that item. If it's 25 or 30, we'll have to come up with that. Yes?
So another sheet that I'm missing, I don't see any itemizations on expenses. See the income and then just the one amount, all of a sudden just like fell out of the clouds, an amount for expenses.
Which part are you missing? Which part are you wondering about?
Any part.
I'm sorry.
We come down here and we say administration expense total, 1,853,000, blah, blah, but I don't see where that comes from. We go recreational activities, recreational expense total, 76,700. I mean, these are just numbers like they fell out of the sky. And I think the attitude about, well, depreciation and that doesn't really count, we're not really losing money. But what you're talking about and you're bringing up is the fact that we don't have money to fix things and keep them up, and that's because of the depreciation. That's what depreciation money would be for, if it were included there. And that's the reason we don't have it, because we're not covering our depreciation.
That's correct.
So this leaves me, and I have another question also. And I don't mean to be a thorn in anybody's side, it just, these are questions I have. The golf course is in here, and it says Fort Clark Springs Association, comma, Inc. budget. My understanding is that the golf course is owned by the Los Morris Corporation.
No.
So why isn't that included under their budget, their accounting, rather than Fort Clark Springs?
The entity under the Los Morris Corporation is the liquor license and the restaurant.
Not according to TABC. According to TABC, the Fort Clark Golf Club is owned
The
by
golf
the
club
Los Morris
itself.
Corporation.
The golf club itself, perhaps, but not the golf course.
The golf club is what's operating and holds the beer and wine license
Yes,
and is collecting money when they sell that.
yes. But the golf course,
But it's separate on the books from the golf course itself. The golf course has its own.
Sounds a little shaky to me, I don't know.
it's not,
The APC says that it's owned by Los Morris Corporation.
not the golf
The
course.
license is owned by
So maybe the actual real estate is owned by Fort Clark Springs, but the operation is owned by the Los Morris Corporation, and your budget is for the operation of it.
The,
The Los Morris, I mean, that's not in here at all. The Los Morris Corporation.
the golf course, the expenses and revenues collected specifically from the golf course go to the golf course. However, the clubhouse and the restaurant are a separate entity from the golf course itself.
So that's not reflected in here.
No.
Actually, it is. This
Well,
is
it's-
just golf course. Los Morris Corporation's not on here at all. I don't know why that is, but it's not here.
And this is a summary. This is a summary, it's the same type of summary from last year, but it was a summary for those who showed up to have, because this other thing is like 17 pages, so.
I'm happy to see the income stream is broke down into items other than gross profit, which we see every month.
And we have two budgets, by the way. We have a fixed budget, which is a financial budget, which is the one that includes the accounting charges for depreciation and bad debt. We also have a cash budget that we work with, which is the actual spending money that's available to the court. But this is a summary of the financial budget, because that is the one that goes to our auditor. But Roby is correct in that we do have to find new revenue. Assessments haven't been, it's been 7 years since the assessments were raised. Cost of living has gone up, salaries have gone up, insurance has gone up. The cost of plumbers, electricians, HVAC has all increased in that 7 years, except we haven't increased our revenue, that the revenue stream from assessments. And nobody likes their taxes raised, and nobody likes their assessments raised, but till the cost of living drops instead of raises, it's one of those things we're going to have to face. And I guess the question would be is, when you buy here, you know you've got historic buildings that must be kept up. When you buy anywhere, in any place, you know you're going to have to pay for it, and it's time that we take a hard look at increasing our assessments so that we can cover just
On this budget, does the membership assessments and the FRM assessments and residential assessments, do they reflect an increase?
No. No, this is working at the current rate, assessment rate.
Current information that
Yes.
we have.
We have discussed it, the necessity of it. We're still doing some research. We are limited in how much we can charge. But it's definitely something that the board has agreed that we need to look at. And we're hoping that our homeowners and our residents will understand the necessities to do this.
This is basically keeping the boat afloat, not moving.
So you're getting the cost of living index figures and that to apply?
Yes.
Not even that.
You're not?
It's not nearly as I can tell, is it? Is it in there? I don't
Well,
think
the
it is.
consumer price index.
Right, the CPI is not figured in this budget whatsoever.
No.
No, I say, but you are looking at that.
That kind of a
Yeah.
situation,
Right.
right,
Yes.
right.
Yes.
This is basically to keep the boat afloat,
But the last time
not to go forward,
there was a
because there's
raise
no
in
money to go
assessment,
forward.
it was 7 years
I
ago.
understand.
So, you know,
But this is all what's come in, right? She has a question.
I was just curious as to, do you have a proposed plan, like say 2-year, 10-year, and 5-year and 10-year, for what your plans are? You know, just like what you propose for down the road to be able to increase revenue, or ideas that you have, or do you have anything like that in place where you have ideas or any way of, you know, like, say a certain percentage of increase for the assessments, that kind of thing? Do you have anything like that in place, or?
No, and that's what we propose to do with looking forward to fund the rest of the needs of the fort is to get something like that in place and identify the items where we need to spend money and identify where the revenue would come from for those.
Another question I have is, have you ever looked into any outside private foundations to obtain funding for specific projects, because this is a historic place?
We haven't been, no,
can.
no, there hasn't been any real diligence on looking for private grants for the fort that I know of. I think there possibly was some years ago, but I'm not in recent history, there hasn't, we haven't.
I'm just curious as to if I used to do grants and fundraising myself, and I know that there are private foundations out there that specifically will set aside monies for projects such as Fort Clark. I come from New York State, and the most expensive state to live in, so this is a treat for my husband and I. But I think this is a beautiful place. I absolutely love it here, my husband and I do, and I think it would be great to get together, and an idea might be to maybe have a committee or someone to kind of throw around some ideas to maybe assist in helping the board and everyone concerned on the fort to make this a beautiful place to be. I think this is an oasis out in the middle of nowhere. So
We had discussed some ad hoc committees to do just that here a couple meetings ago, and we didn't get very far with that,
Well,
but that's a possibility that we're looking at.
They'll come up again. We do have some, because of the way we're set up, we do have some restrictions on whether or not we qualify for grants. We do have some 501c3 groups here that will qualify for certain grants.
Right.
But because we're basically a business.
Right.
We don't qualify for a lot of the
Right.
grants that are available.
I was just mainly speaking about private foundations that specifically will set aside funds for reasons such as this. And if you do some research and you do your homework, I'm certain that there are some out there that would assist in making renovations or the old buildings, or making this a great place to be. And perhaps we could even get some traffic in here to go and see the Alamo and come and see Fort Clark and
No, the Alamo City's not open.
Oh, it's not open?
No, it's been closed. for-
Oh, okay.
It's
I
but
agree
they
there-
would go
there-
all the way to the Alamo.
Yeah.
There would seem to be a possibility for the historic buildings to possibly have
Right.
something in that venue.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to ask a question. What happened to the vehicle that was supposed to go out there and bring people in, and money was spent on that vehicle? I've never personally seen it, so I'm not on the internet or anything, so.
It went last year, and
I think
we were
it was like half a
told
dozen times it.
we got 20 or 30 people interested, but we didn't sell anything from it.
Where is it now? Where's the vehicle?
It's here.
It's at maintenance. It
It's
was.
here. It's stored there. In fact, we use it for display. We have a tournament coming up this weekend, and it will be at the golf course and on
Okay.
display. We are getting lists of shows, home and garden shows, RV shows. That's the type of thing that we're going for. We're having an Oktoberfest again. We use it as a display. It's been used because of the trailer for other functions, but anytime it's on the road, it's one big moving advertisement for Fort Clark. So if you'd like to see it this weekend, it'll be parked down at the golf course, down on the lawn right next to the pro shop in front of the creek.
Okay.
And you can take a look at it. It's really nicely done, and it's excellent advertising for the fort.
Okay. This gentleman was talking about the golf course. It says here golf expense, 209,72060. Does that include the maintenance guys, the ones that do
Yes,
the lawn?
it's pro shop and maintenance.
Okay.
Anything that takes to run the golf
I
course.
was just a little confused on
Yeah,
that.
water, power, mowing, all that stuff, pro shop
The guys that work
expenses.
down there.
Yes, and actually, that targeted figure is basically, what, $30,000 lower than it was last year, so we're trying to.
Yeah, you know, there's one thing I would like to mention, I don't usually stand and speak, but,
Well, you can sit if you want.
well, I read the paper this weekend, and there was a lot of things in there to Jody, and I've got nothing personal against Jody at all. In fact, I've even said to Woody, you know, that she really can be a nice person, nothing to do with her job. Okay, there was like people writing in and saying what a good job she's done and how great the place looks. I've lived on the fort 29 years, and I've seen it better, I've seen it worse. Now, my thing was, when they're talking about a manager, don't you think some of this praise should be handed over to the maintenance? The people that write in, I'm not saying that I don't even know the people that wrote these things. And half the names I don't even know, because some of my friends died, moved, whatever, you know. But I just feel when they're gonna write something, whoever it is, that they should really try to let us know that the people that actually doing the work, like the maintenance guys, and the golf course, that guy down there busts his butt. You know,
At any time. you
I
can-
realize the manager is behind them all, I understand that, you know.
At
But,
any time, I'm sure they'd appreciate it. If you see any of them, stop them and tell them what a good job they're doing. We do it
oh, I've
often.
been doing that for years.
We do it often.
I do it all the time. I'm just saying, when they're praising a manager, they need to write in and say, well, if it wasn't for the, so maybe it wouldn't be so good.
Speaking of that,
Told
about a
us
year
don't
ago,
tell
I
them
wrote
that
a
they
letter of
couldn't prove
commendation
that.
and turned it in for two of this, actually one security person and one maintenance person. And 2 weeks later, I talked to them. Neither one of them had ever heard a word about it.
I don't know anything about that.
Don't ever. I never saw that. For something like that, normally or usually gets a board meeting to be read as a
I
correspondence.
mistakenly turned it in to Jody.
Well, she turns those things usually over to, anything you want read at a board meeting, you
No, I
should
wanted it read to the employee.
given to that person. I understand
Give them a
that.
day off or some reward for they went above and beyond the call.
Right.
Jody did have a method of rewarding, especially maintenance, since they are so much, the
Yeah, and
the
I-
butt of everything, as well as this kind of compliment. She had what do you call it? Bonus. She gave them bonuses for that type of thing. And she has set aside again another set of bonuses to be available for that type of thing. And I don't know who they were, but she may well have spoken to them. And you say they hadn't heard of me? We'll see if we can find the source and do something ourselves. Okay.
And we are going to be advertising, recruiting for a new director of operations. We're going to be putting that together here in the next few days, so we can get that out there, and so there's not too big of a
And
delay.
if you're interested,
So if anyone's interested in applying, has a background that would work with what we need to do here on our $2 million company, we appreciate it. Just keep an eye out, because we'll be advertising it nationally on some of the employment sites, the newspapers, and on the fort. So keep an eye out if you're actually interested in applying for the position.
and I think we should go to the college and the universities too.
Yeah. We're still working on that. We gotta put a lot of stuff together.
If there's no other questions or comments about the budget, because this was a workshop and no decisions are going to be made,
Right, exactly.
does anybody else have any comments or questions?
Is there something else
Maybe
that?
one more.
Excuse me, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it okay?
Yes.
No, you were talking about putting up the, maybe, the assessments. You know, a few years back when you all got rid of the roads, let mud take them over, sold them to the mud. We weren't paying taxes then in Kenny County. Now I'm on to pay about $64 on my taxes for mud, payable to mud. But I still have to pay a fort, that $24. But $64 might not be much to some people. It means a lot to me because I work my butt off for what I do.
12 cents
You
means
know,
a lot.
I pay income.
Right.
Is that
I
the
pay-
bond money
Right,
that you're
that's,
talking
that's,
about?
that's what it was for.
I'm paying, Kenny County taxes. You know, house taxes.
Yeah, we all
Yeah.
pay
Right.
property
Right.
But
taxes.
the mud taxes were, we had, I forget, was it $12 million?
Yeah, that was a bond.
There was a $12 million bond we voted on, and that's what that $64 is. The
Yeah.
majority of it goes to
Mine's a lot-
repay.
a lot
That's
higher
repaying the
than
bond.
$64.
Yeah, I know.
Even though we're private, even though we're a private company, we still are in Kenny County, and they're not gonna let
Yeah,
us get
but what
away
I'm
without
saying is
paying
my
our
taxes
taxes.
went up because of this.
Yes.
Well, that was because of the
That was
bond,
a
right?
bond, that was to repay the bond. It had nothing to do with taxes.
Well,
Well,
whether
yes,
you
it
paid
does.
the bond or not, it
Right.
still affected us as members here.
Affected everybody here.
Well, I understand now, on the fort, yes.
Yes, right.
Yeah, not out of the fort.
No.
On the fort, it affected us as members,
Yes.
you know.
And we got roads for it.
I don't, because I'm in one of the older units. Right now, I'm in Unit 3, which has always been pretty disgusting, but lately it's really gone down. Roads need doing. I haven't lived there all my life, believe me. I've been through a divorce and I'm a widow.
That's one of the things that we were gonna talk to Mud about, was how to repair and work on the rest of the roads together,
Yes.
which would be in our future. It's not in this money here.
No.
No.
Oh, I'm not saying anything about the roads. I give up on Unit 3 with all the renters and the crap that goes on over there. Paying all the attention to that.
My question is, do you have any idea what type of percentage of increase that you're going to entertain on this? And are you going to apply that percentage not only to the assessments and the members, but also the other situations such as the RV park? You know, that's a great bargain over there. We were big RVers for a long time, and it's hard to find a better deal than that.
It's a good question.
Yes, it would be
Dennis.
an
And
across
we
the
have-
board.
Yeah, we have talked about that. All our rental fees for all of our buildings, the RV park, golf course fees, which went up a little bit, or as of October 1st, they'll go up a little bit.
Swimming park fees.
And instituting some swim park fees, but yes, we're looking at it all across the board. That's the only fair way to do it.
Yeah, gotta affect
Are
everybody.
you looking at like 3%, 5%?
Not there yet,
Well,
Do you have
the,
an idea now?
not there yet.
no, because we need to identify the most dire needs to spend money and how much. And we haven't come to a consensus with that yet.
Coming up $360,000 short, you're gonna have to have that percentage probably at least as high as you could go according to our documents on the CPI.
Well, as far as the assessments, I think we figured out that the range, the permissible range by our governing documents was between $1 and $6, was that one?
Mhm.
I'm not sure how they
I
came
think
with that
that was
figure, because it
$1,600.
looks like if we were allowed to go up, it would be a given point, we can go up to that
I
much.
think there's a range.
So-
And we're
But-
learning about this, we're kind of learning about this too. We don't want to, and we have also discussed having a graduated increase so that in 1 year, we may go up a certain percent, then maybe in next year, we'll go up just a little bit more until we reach that maximum, so that you aren't hit, we aren't hit, because I have 2 lots, that we aren't all hit all at one time with one big increase. So maybe do it in increments.
As long as you stay within the CPI or.
Right.
Yes.
That's exactly the point, right?
Whereas our rental, our revenue generating venues, can ask anything we want for those. So there may be some we charge a little bit more for, and others we stay the same or whatever. Again, we've got a lot of discussion before you know, get that. And right now, one of our main concerns is to get a new director of operations in place and yet we are talking over some interim operations plans with key people to make sure that our departments keep moving in the direction, all our bills are paid, our money's deposited, and so forth.
Business as usual.
Yes, we want to make sure that the day-to-day operations of the fort do not suffer, you know, at any time. But we've got a lot of talking to do. We've laid some groundwork. We had a couple of really fruitful budget sessions where we talked about all of these things, and we need to get together again and find out what areas need the most work and how much it's going to cost to do it, and what the membership can bear as far as our increases. We're
Plus,
working
we
on
need
it.
to make that plan you're talking about.
Yes.
Right, and it has to be for more than 1 year because of incremented possibilities and, you know, where the fort needs to go, what we need to do to keep, not just fix things 1 year, but fix things in the future as well.
Yeah, oh, yes, definitely. You got to have
Plan for that.
And
a
I-
goal in mind.
And I think we're, all five of us are on the same page when it comes to that, so we should be able to move forward on that. But right now, we need to do some hiring and get that out of the way, get that person trained.
I'm sorry, I know I said that was the last question. I'll ask one more. Is there ever gonna be anything done about all these renters? You know, I'm on unit 3 and we have so many on there. I know the one lady owns a lot of, you know, and I'm not blaming her, because I'm sure she's collecting her money good. But
She should be responsible.
You know,
I just believe that they should be told when you're bringing them in, "Oh, you're gonna rent a place, then you need to do a thorough background."
we're limited in what we can demand. It's still America, and they still own their property. And it might behoove Unit 3 to get together with some representatives and go over their CC&Rs and see how they can be enforced. Our architectural committee has people that drive around, but they're looking at the physical appearance of the units. They're not looking at what
Yeah.
the members are doing with their
Okay.
units, okay?
Well, that's most of what because I must admit, I'm neglecting mine a little bit lately with the heat.
But the CC&Rs for each unit are a little bit different, and the people in that unit are the ones in charge of their own CC&R, so as long as they don't violate any fourth CC&R. So it may be you might want to talk to some members, other members in there, and see if you guys can get together
I
and,
don't think we've got too many members living in there.
No rentals?
I'm just one of the old ones.
You
Well,
know-
someone did tell me once, they came to look at the house next door and said they would live on that unit if you paid them to.
you know, it's,
And it was nice when well, I shouldn't say when I first moved here, because
Well, you know,
I've only lived there the last, 11 years.
The problem, basically what you're saying, the problem is, or part of the problem is,
Well, you remember it, you used to
yes, I
live
know,
on
I
unit
used to live
3.
in three, yeah. But part of the problem is, back in the day, if you will, most of Unit 3 was, people actually lived there.
Yeah,
Now you have, you know, of course, through deaths and movings and what have you, people still own, but they don't care.
a lot of trash is what it
And,
is.
you know, how do you make those people who live in Chicago
well,
take
let me
care
tell
of
you.
their property here? You know, so that's part of the problems that we have, and even if you follow the CC&Rs, there's
We do.
only so much that you can do
Mhm.
legally to make these people step up to the plate and correct the problems that are there. That's not just Unit 3 at all.
You know,
It's
I can see
all over.
grass overgrowing and, you know, whatever, especially with all this heat we've had, and, you know, we don't want to water them too much, because it'll just make it worse. But,
unfortunately, absentee landlordism is a problem no matter where you go, whether you are in.
well, the
on
landlord
Ford
of
or-
these places lives right there.
Yeah. Well, maybe you need a delegation to the
So
landlord.
the landlord tell them, you know, tell their people to, you know, get off the pot, as they say.
There's some things we can do, but there's limits to what we, as a fort, can do as far
Yeah.
as these people are
I
concerned.
know.
The sheriff told me that they have a big problem with Fort Clark because we have a lot of drugs, we have a lot of theft, we have child abuse, we have spousal abuse, something we never heard of before on the fort. I know
This renting started
everything started around 5 years or so ago. But anyway, he said he wished that the fort would notify them of people that are moving, do a background check moving on the fort because they don't know until after the fact. There has to be, they are doing intervention instead of prevention. They have to intervene whenever they have these different things going on. And if the board could do some sort of a background check, particularly on renters, then they would, and turn it over to the sheriff's office, that would help them. But they do get involved after the fact.
We can't.
I'm not sure how we can specifically set out and investigate any one group of individuals without investigating everybody. You know, if we have to do a background check on renters, we probably have to do it on everybody on the fort. But it's something we could look at and see what our, you know, what rights, how far we can go before we breach the law.
We all need to talk to the sheriff's office and get their views on this.
The person who's renting that property, they are probably permitted to do a background check. But we, because of their renters, they need to know who they're renting to. But we as a fort, it is highly doubtful that we could do a background check on anybody's renter or anybody who wants to buy a place here. We're really no different than if you lived in the city of Del Rio. It's really highly doubtful the city of Del Rio is going to do a background check or could do a background check on you because you bought a house in a subdivision there.
I'm not
So,
talking about owners, I'm talking about renters.
well, we
Same
can't,
difference.
we can't on renters.
Or if a rentar could do the background check and require them to turn it over to the sheriff's office.
Right, I'm not sure what legal foothold we have there, but we could check and maybe talk to the sheriff and see if we can require the person that's renting the house to do anything like that.
Well, I'm
It looks-
embarrassed.
You're
I'm
talking about
embarrassed
the
that
landlord, right? It's the one that, the landlord.
whenever
Right.
I read about spousal abuse and things like that in the paper with Fort Clark Springs attached to it, because used to you never, ever, we had a different type of, well, we had a different, I don't want to use the word class of people, but we had a different element.
The world has changed.
Different element, and I think
The
we ought
world
to be
has
careful.
changed.
This is kind of a, we're
Anyway,
kind of getting
let's
off
go
our
on.
Yeah.
deal. It's a
Let's go back
budget
to the
meeting.
budget.
Have you got anything else got about the budget? If we have no more concerns, comments, or questions about the budget, it's 9 minutes after 7 on September 8th. We're adjourned. Thank you all.
Please don't forget the board meeting on the 20th.
Yeah, unit 15 has gone down real bad.
If you want to take,
Oh, no.
if you want to take
I live,
copies of the budget for other people,